So before we get into the Edge Sims, I wanted to go back to our last install slideshow to recap some of the key rules on what our Sims are. So a reminder that a Sim is something where it looks like we're going to be simulating pressure, right? We're not actually going to be bringing pressure because we're still only going to have four guys on the line of scrimmage. We're just bringing a linebacker up to like a defensive end, and we're dropping a defensive end to replace that linebacker. So it's a way to give that look like we're bringing pressure, but still keep everyone in their same spots. So, a quick review on what some of our base rules are when it comes to running sims is first of all for the DNs, whichever D end is on the three tech side, again, in this case, it's our tackle, he is first of all engaging this offensive lineman. He's going to engage him for one count and try commit him to either run or pass blocking to bring our to let our linebacker come off without as much pressure from that tackle. After he's dropping, he is then looking to read, is it a run or a pass? If he gets a pass set from the offensive tackle, he's going to be dropping to replace the mic. And if not, he's stepping back, but then looking to fill back in to assist on the run. So again, for our DNs, the first step on any sim is identifying, am I on the three tech side? Again, this is a 2-eye from our nose. So this tackle is in our three tech. Hence, this defensive end is dropping. Our installs from the last session were for the mic and the will. And if I just call a regular mic or will, that means that the mic is setting a sim with his anchor, the tackle, and the will is setting one with his anchor, the nose. And their two calls are either rip or Liz. So a rip tells the defensive lineman that they are going to the right, and the mic is filling left. You'll notice throughout the slides this COP, B to C. COP stands for contain on pressure. So what we have to be careful of on sims is whoever is up on the line of scrimmage. So in this case, the mic is the last guy on the line of scrimmage. He wants to widen out his path once he sees the ball carrier come this way because he is now holding the contain. He wants to funnel everything back in for his teammates. So whoever that last guy is, it could be the tackle, it could be the nose, it could be the mic, it could be the will. Whoever the last guy is on the line of scrimmage, that is the one that has to hold that cop pressure. Again, here's an example of a Liz with the mic. So the mic is now going to the right because the L Liz tells the tackle he's going to the left. And the three tech is still dropping. Tackle, because you're that end guy, you have to widen out if that ball comes to your side. Again, setting that edge so they have to try run everything back inside. So those were our base rules when we talked about sims during our previous install. And now we're going to look at our edge sims. One thing I forgot to mention too on that previous install is that if I give a 5 tag, that just tells that defensive end on the 3 tech side that they aren't dropping. They're just going to continue on with their run or pass rush, depending on what look we get. So again, a 5 tag tells us that. So an edge is a sim, right? We're going to have a linebacker come up and a defensive lineman drop. What we're looking at is spreading pressure from, well, the edge or the outside. So because the Sam is almost always aligned on the outside, we can now have him be a part of this along with our Mike and Will. And the new call that we're going to have to help communicate what direction players are going is called an Eli and an ego. So the first thing to be aware of is whenever we hear edge for our front defensive lineman. Edge tells us that we're going to do what's called a surf. And all that a surf is that every single defensive lineman after the ball is snapped is going to be moving over one gap to either the right or the left. They go the opposite of where the pressure is coming. So in this case, we have an edge pressure coming from the left side. So all of our defensive linemen are going to surf to the right. Okay, so any edge, again, whether it's coming from the right or the left, they're always going to be going the opposite direction. So if the wheelbacker was coming on an edge, we would have all the linemen surf to the left because the pressure's coming from the right. So that's one big thing we got to be careful of with this. Now, in this example that we see something called a mic edge. And an edge is going to be me putting my hands on my hips to indicate that we're bringing an edge pressure. Again, this could be the Sam, the mic, or the will. But in this situation, we call the mic. In a regular Mike Will sim, they're making their calls with the tackle and nose. Again, Rip and Liz. The Mike and Will and Sam, when we bring edge pressures, are now making a call with the defensive end. So their two calls are either going to be an Eli or an ego. If it's Eli, the defensive end is going inside. Again, Eli ends in an I, inside. defensive end goes to the inside. If it's ego, the defensive end is going to the outside. So in this case, the Mike is calling Eli left, Eli left. The reason why we want our linebackers calling that left or right is because that tells the lineman that if they hear Eli left, they know, oh, well, we got to surf to the right, right? Because they go the opposite. So this is the Eli left. So the defensive end is going to be going inside, and the Mike is going to be on the outside. Now, just like our previous install, Mike, because you're the edge player here, you have to have contain responsibilities if that ball carrier comes your direction. Tackle moves across this way. Again, Will, you're setting hard over to replace for the Mike in this given blitz situation. Nose, you are surfing away, so you're moving from a 2-eye to a 3. And now because you're the edge man, you're copying. Now, this defensive end, right, you have a little bit to talk about. We discussed how if we ran blood, right, we know that once the ball is snapped, we're going to be flipping our 2-eye to a 3 and our 3 to a 2-eye. So defensive ends, if I call before the ball gets snapped that we're going to be running an edge, you can think that, okay, well, if before the ball is snapped, I know I have the nose on my side, the 2-eye. After that surf happens, he is now going to be a 3. So because it's pre-snap and we can identify that, we want you thinking, okay, once the play starts, I'll have the 3 tech on my side. So now I am dropping. Same responsibilities. Commit to that tackle for 1 count, drop. If we read pass, continue to drop to where the will would be on pass route responsibilities. Mainly you're looking out of the backfield for either the fullback or the tailback coming out your direction. If it's a run, locate the football. So again, this is a Mike Eli call. First of all, the Mike edge tells our defensive linemen that they're surfing away from the pressure. So Eli left from the Mike tells all of our linemen they're surfing to the right. Again, if they're the last guy on the line of scrimmage, they have to have cop responsibilities. We have an Eli call that tells the defensive end he is going in. So the Mike now is going out. And again, this defensive end, because he has time to identify before the ball is snapped that once that ball is snapped, I'm quickly going to have the 3 tech on my side. Well, I can drop on this backside. Here's an example of a Mike ego. So again, Eli on the first one, the D end was going in. Now on an ego, the defensive end is going out. He would have contain. Mike is on the inside. Again, it's an edge pressure. So ego left. We're all going to be surfing to the right. The only person who doesn't have to surf is this defensive end if they happen to get called to go to the outside. So here we still have our gaps covered for. Will is flowing over. Defensive ends and Will just identify that in this, our A gap on the backside is going to be open. So we want to make sure we're keeping this open gap there. We can rally to it and make a play, but everything else is the same. Again, we have an ego. So the end goes out. Mike goes in. Tackle surfs away from the ego left. Nose contains B on the C. Will fills over. The end does his same responsibility. Here's an example of a will ego. So one of the reasons why we have our deuce front in is for our edge pressures, the will, his blitzes work much better if we are into a deuce front, which again is our tackle and nose and 2s. So here's an example of where we line up and we bring the will. So it's going to be ego right. So our nose, first of all, the defensive end on this side, ego, again, review means he goes outside. Will goes into the inside. Nose, you are surfing away from the call, right? So now you're going into the center. This is almost identical to that hammer tech that we talked about. So now you're reading the center, right, to make your move. Tackle, again, surfing away. If the pressure is coming from the right, you're going left. This defensive end, again, has time to think. Okay, I know once the ball gets snapped, everyone's surfing towards the left. So now this defensive end knows I'm heavy. Mike replaces over, and then we fill into our responsibilities. Here's an example of a will Eli. Again, the Eli tells the defensive end he goes in. Will goes out. We have a surf by the nose, surf by the tackle. This D end is on the 3 tech side, so he's here and he drops. Again, Mike fills over. The one thing that I didn't show on this is tackle, because you are on the end of the line of scrimmage. You would have cop responsibilities if the ball gets ran out to your side. So that is the Mike and Will calls. So again, just to recap, We need to have that Mike and Will that when they're going to call either Eli or Ego, we want to say if they're coming from the right or the left side. So our defensive linemen know which direction to go the opposite of. So again, any edges from the right, we surf to the left, our defensive linemen. If it comes from the left, the pressure, we all surf to the right. We can still run 5 tags as well off these edge pressers. So again, that just tells that defensive end they stay up in that given situation. Here's an example of a Sam bringing pressure. So in this case, the Sam can call either an Eli or an Ego, and everyone else's rules is the same. Again, it's going to be Eli left in this situation. So all our defensive linemen are going to surf to the right. The 3 tech defensive end has drop rules. Will doesn't have to necessarily fill over here. I just show this as an example of how this could look. Again, Eli means that our defensive end is going in. So Sam is coming off the edge. Mike, you really would probably widen yourself out a little bit. So that's why that Will is showing an arrow. But again, there may be times where we have you just both stay in this static spot to make it look like we're coming with a more of a 3-4 look against the defense. One important thing to note is that anytime we bring the Sam on the pressure, okay, Sam on the pressure, the free safety, you are quick to either help on number 2, depending on what our goal is that week. So we may go to a man look, or we can have the Mike play the number 2 if we expect like our push rule coming, right? He would take him inside, and then safety, you would have any back out of the backfield. Again, that's going to vary by week, but I just write here an example of what some of our rules could be to help us with this look. Again, right now, the key thing is understanding what's going on here with the front 7. Again, secondary, we can work on that later. Here's an example of an Ego from the Sam. So again, he's going Ego left, Ego left. We have our guys all going to the right, except for this defensive end, because the Ego tells him he's staying out. Defensive end's dropping. Again, Will and Mike, we can bump you over if we need to. If Mike is not helping out, free safety, you have all of number 2. So it's, again, a man look. If we run it like our regular sky look, Mike, you're basically replacing the Sam and having number 2, all of him up and out. And then free safety, you're just playing your base rules there. Again, late rallying to that backfield if he comes out into a different play.